On today's episode of WatchJRGo, I have one of those nearly unbelievable, just rolled into the shop Honda stories. And somehow, this car is back on the road today. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, I am here with a great just rolled into the shop story, and it's not this broken BMW behind me. This is about a 2001 Honda CRV. Really, an old tank. Now, many of you guys know the old CRV. It looks nothing like today's CRV. It's basically just a bunch of straight lines and a 1.6 liter, if I remember right, engine with a distributor and fuel injection. And this is from that old Honda era where it seems like all of their cars went 300,000 miles. And this CRV was no different. It was at 250,000 miles, and it belongs to my neighbor. Now, a lot of you guys are going to ask for pictures and proof. Why didn't I record it? Well, the reason is the neighbors were there the whole time, and this isn't a story to shame them, and I don't need to put their business out there by showing you their car. You know, it's not about putting them in the spotlight or anything like that. They don't work on cars. Lots of people don't work on cars. Lots of people have no knowledge about cars. So they come to people like me that work on cars all day long and ask to help. And that is exactly what happened. The neighbors walked over here, knocked on the front door of the house and said, "Hey, I know you work on cars." They've been over here before. They took pictures of the 67 Camaro and stuff like that. They asked if they could take the pictures. They were cool. And I've talked to them a couple of times and they were like, "Hey, can you come look at my CRV? It won't start." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. What's going on?" So he said that their mechanic friend had just come over and looked at the car and said that it needs a starter. And I was like, okay. And he had a video on his phone and he was already pulling it out to show me what was going on. And I was like, perfect. So he flips open the video, hits play, and the car's cranking. And I was like, well, I don't know what this mechanic told you, but I don't think it's your starter if it's cranking. And it was like a crank no start condition. No big deal, you know, pretty normal thing to troubleshoot. And I didn't really ask him any other questions. I just said, I'll be right there, right? Because it's a lot easier to walk across the street and figure out what's going on than it is to ask a bunch of like, where'd you get gas last time? Anything happening before this? You know, all the normal questions. It's just easier to go see it. So run over to his house and he hands me the key to the CRV, flip open the door, turn the key, starts instantly. And I was like, well, it's not your starter. So they were like, what? It wouldn't start 3 minutes ago, but the oil light was on. And I was like, this is not good, dude. Your oil light's on. And he was like, yeah, I was about to get it changed. And I was like, that is not what that light means. We're talking about the oil pressure light, not an oil change light. And I'm sure you guys know old Hondas don't have oil change lights. In fact, nothing had oil change warnings before 2000, mid 2000s for the most part. That's when oil life became prevalent. And before that, only luxury cars told you when you need to get your oil changed. And this one obviously had nothing like that. It was literally the oil pressure light was on. So I was like, this is bad, man. Like, we got to shut this off. So shut the car right back off. And I was like, we'll start with the oil, pull the dipstick out, and there's oil on it. I was like, well, not as bad as we thought. Clean the dipstick off, stick it back in, pull it out, completely dry. And I was like, we found your problem. I don't know how this thing's alive. That's basically where I was going with it. I was like, this is a very bad sign. So I go get him some oil, run back over here, grab a brand new quart of oil, dump in the whole quart, and check the oil. And it's completely dry. So I come back over here again and I get a 4-quart off the shelf, grabbed him some Motul this time and got some fancy oil and poured in, I'd say 2 more quarts before we got it on the dipstick and, another half or so before we got it up to the next line on the dipstick. So I put all that oil in there, start it right back up, and it starts perfectly. And then, I was like, that's just so you know, that light means you have to stop your car. Your engine runs on oil. And if you don't have oil in the thing, like it's just metal on metal, and eventually your engine welds itself together. And that's probably why your car didn't start just a minute ago. I think that he drove it for so long that the engine seized up and then it wouldn't start. And then a few minutes later, after it cooled back down, it started for me. So I'm pretty sure that's the scenario. Obviously, I wasn't there before, but it only makes sense that that's exactly what happened. So I told him again, I reiterated, like, this thing's out of oil. Is this where you normally park the car? And he said, yes. No spots on the ground. Look underneath. Very little oil on the oil pan. I don't see where the problem actually is without actually digging into it. You know, it could be burning oil. I've seen this car on the road. It's not blowing smoke out of the exhaust. So I told him he needs to check his oil every third time he gets gas, probably. I mean, it's a 250,000 mile Honda CRV. It's probably about there. And if it wasn't about there before, he said that oil light's been on for 2.5 to 3 weeks. It's there now, right? I mean, that engine, I'd say, is pretty much toast, but still not a bit of smoke, and it starts perfectly, and it sounds good when he drives by. And I gave it a quick rev, and on D-cell, I didn't hear any rod knock. So he's got a 2001 Honda CRV that will literally run on no oil. I've seen it 1 or 2 more times in my life. I've seen some old engines just be run completely out of oil and just keep right on going for quite a while. And this is one of those unicorn Hondas. So a pretty funny just rolled into the shop, got him back on the road in 5 minutes, and he went right back to work after that. I don't think he was even late. Only took a couple of seconds. But it's still crazy that a mechanic came over and diagnosed it as a bad starter. I told him not to listen to that guy. He probably doesn't know what he's talking about. And also, if you've got an old Honda, who knows? Yours might also run with basically no oil in it. Go check your oil if you haven't, especially if you don't have an oil life system or something like that. I told him he should change it too. It's time to do everything because there's probably metal in that oil. Anyway, that wasn't the only thing I did yesterday. I also had to rebuild my mower after the wheel fell off. Look, the wheel has been bent since the day I bought it, and I've been limping it along for months and months and months because the wheels for the walker are $300. But every 4th time I mow or something like that, the wheel tries to fall off. The lug stud's back all the way out. And that's because the wheel has been bent since the day I got it. We could literally see the run out as you were driving. You could see the wheel just going in and out. And I knew I'd have to fix it eventually. So yesterday, the wheel tried to fall off again, and I just had to go buy a brand new wheel and tire setup. And those wheels and tires for this thing, the 10 wide low pros, are almost $300. I could buy another mower for $300. It's crazy what walker parts cost. But I bit the bullet, and I'll show you guys testing it, checking it for run out, and putting it all together right now. Every time I go mow with my Walker T23, this wheel falls off, and you guys can see the lug nuts now are trying to go all the way through the wheel. They have been completely wallered out, and we've had to keep living with it because these wheels are almost $300 with a tire mounted on them. So today we're going to check this thing for true, and we're going to try to fix it because even the lug studs here are trash. We're going to put a little bit of knocker loose in each one of these threads and chase them out real quick so we can put some brand new lug studs in here. All the threads have been chased with this very annoying 1220 fine thread tap, and now we are ready to go pick up our new wheel and tire. Also, this tire was going flat all the time. It's probably got quite the leak coming from some hole on it. It's very old. And we're gonna solve all these problems today. And just like that, the updated Walker wheels with the hub-centric ring and new lugs is installed, and I am back in business. Let's go mow. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. I had to do the whole YouTubers will hold anything but a real microphone because I didn't have a real microphone with me. So an iPhone taped to a crescent wrench it is.